Sanctuary. We're here today for video 3 of our series. Today we're focusing on superheroes and systems because this place has so many wonderful things to offer. It's here for us to build community, both biodiversity, recreation, bird watching, all those wonderful things. It's also a place for us to understand ecological communities, how water, air, land, and living things connect. In fact, right here, at this part in the sanctuary, we're in between two geologic islands. And those geologic islands have rock and soils different than in the wetland. Stay with us to learn more.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Haug. I am the Water Resources Manager for the City of Blaine, and today we're out at the Blaine Wetland Sanctuary. This is a unique site in the City of Blaine as it is a restored wetland. There are 8 different types of wetlands in the state of Minnesota, and what makes up a wetland is hydrology, hydric soils, and hydrophytic vegetation, meaning that the soils like to be saturated and the plants like to be saturated, so just wet. Not all wetlands have standing water at the surface. Actually, a lot of wetlands in the Blaine area, you do not see water after about 14 days, similar to what's out here. This is a unique wetland because there are poor and rich fens, and those have different acidic types of peat. And peat is not soil. Peat is just decomposed organic plant matter that likes to be wet and holds water and helps to absorb any pollutants that are washing into this area, and also helps with promoting our pollinator species, which we all need to ensure that we have a great food source.
We are environmental systems. I'm here at the Blaine Wetland Sanctuary observation deck. Behind me you can see the forest, and that forest is on geologic islands. It's soil and rock. And off to this side you can see the wetland area where we have different types of plants, and the soil is actually more peat or decomposing plant matter. That describes some geosphere. The plants and animals that live here would be biosphere. This clean, fresh air today is atmosphere. And also we have a fourth system, the hydrosphere. Now that hydrosphere, please jump in with me to do the water cycle song. The water cycle song helps us better understand how water flows through these environmental systems. Energy flows through systems. When energy flows through the hydrosphere, we can connect that with what's called the water cycle. Here's a water cycle song. The sun shines down on the ground. Now imagine that your fingers are the little drops of water. H2O moving faster and faster with that warmth from the sun leads to evaporation. Evaporation way up high, then we have condensation. Make 2 C's with your hands in a circle, and that's how we say cloud. So condensation then leads to precipitation back on the ground. Try that with me from the top. Sun shining down on the ground, evaporation, condensation, precipitation on the ground. Now here's the part we often forget. The water sinks in, and that is a very good thing. Here at Blaine Wetland Sanctuary, we have water in our wetlands in the fen that acts like a giant sponge, a storage tank and a filter for our water. That looks like percolation into the ground and deep underground saturation. From the top, sun shining down on the ground, evaporation, condensation, precipitation on the ground, percolation, saturation. That's how the water cycle goes around and around. Geosphere means Earth's materials. It could be mountains, plains, plateaus, and those landforms, but it can also be rocks, boulders, sand, and soils. Well, here we're going to talk about the difference between soil and peat.
All right, so right here I have a sample of peat. which is what this wetland is made up of. Do you see all the plant matter in this peat? That is why it is not considered dirt. And something really cool about this is it is a giant sponge. So when I squeeze this, water will come out. And this is also acting like a giant filter to try and clean our water before it gets into our groundwater system, which here in Blaine is where we get our drinking water from.
As you focus on environmental STEM with your learning, with your school, know that the City of Blaine in their education kits has some samples of peat moss for you to look at. And you can also do a just quick, easy experiment right where you live by taking a jar or container, a scoop of your soil, water, and then shake it up, let it sit. When you look closely here, you'll see how the water and time has led to these layers being formed. Now this was soil, not peat. You can see the sand and particles, organic matter at the top. Soil is a mixture of those earth materials, sand and rock with living things and organic material, compared to our peat here and here, which is mainly those dead plants and organic matter and holds water like a sponge.
So at the Blaine Wetland Sanctuary, there are some very unique and superhero powered plants. One of the most unique ones is called the sundew. There's a common misconception that mosquitoes love to be in wetlands. However, out at the Blaine Wetland Sanctuary, the sundew plant actually eats wetlands. And with the amount of dragonflies and birds that are out here, mosquitoes are not really as big of a problem as people think wetland areas are. So the other super unique aspect of the Blaine Wetlands Sanctuary are that there are a lot of threatened and endangered plant species out here that haven't been seen in about 20 to 30 years. But because of the restoration work that the city has done to restore this wetland area, these plant species are coming back. There are 5 new varieties of raspberry that haven't been seen in the Blaine area for quite a long time, as well as some very cool violets that come out really early in the springtime and so are perfect for our pollinator species so that they can have sugar right away in the springtime. So the plants are amazing out here and we need to continue to work to restore this wetland area.
Well, on this hot summer day, the breeze feels wonderful, which makes me think about atmosphere. We've talked about 4 main ecological systems and how as human beings we are in these systems, we depend on these systems, we are part of all of them every day. We've talked about geosphere, peat versus soil. We've talked about the water cycle song and hydrosphere. We've shared with you some of the rare and endangered plant species here with a biosphere. And now atmosphere. Just look at all of this green. All of those plants from the tall trees to the smaller sedges to the flowering plants to whatever species you can find and identify. We've got filters for our air, and that's a very powerful thing. So just another way that the Wetland Sanctuary acts like a superhero. A great way to play, learn, and love nature with Blaine Wetland Sanctuary is through engineering design challenges. This is part of the environmental STEM curriculum that Growing Green Hearts worked with the City of Blaine to create and provide for you. The resources are online and kits are available. Just contact the City of Blaine. The engineering design process looks like stating a problem, having criteria and constraints, doing some research, and then lots of iterations. Design, build, test, improve, design, build, test, improve. Do this multiple times before then sharing with your friends or your class. This could look like designing and building a water filter. This could look like doing some research around macroinvertebrates using some of the standing water here at Blaine Wetland Sanctuary. Another example of an engineering design challenge is to model a fen. A fen is a type of wetland that is filled with peat. Now, peat is acidic, so what you will start with for your engineering design challenge, remember these kits are available for your use, is a ceramic mug. This is to represent the geology. So So the geology of the ground, and then we fill it with some awesome lemonade to represent how the peat makes the water acidic. So that acidic lemonade, and yes, if it's clean, you can drink this part of the engineering design challenge. That acidity is lemonade. But we want to also represent how peat and the ground insulate. So your job will be to help keep that lemonade cold. What type of insulators will you use? Or perhaps you'll use a reflector. So using a variety of materials, you'll need to engineer, to invent, to innovate, and create some type of a shell around your mug. Then of course we'll put in plant material like mint or rosemary or basil to represent the plants of the fen, and you've got to enjoy it just like we enjoy the wetland sanctuary. Imagine 40 to 60 feet down into that peat fen, ice in the middle of July. That's what we're finding out about the fen and how it's such an amazing insulator. So you can take this engineering design challenge a few steps further by adding ice and keeping track of temperature. Another way to take this engineering design challenge with superheroes and systems a little bit further is by investigating materials, doing some material science. So what materials are the best insulators? Would it be the human-made foam or bubble wrap? Would it be a natural fur or materials like cotton and wool? Test it out, see what you can find. Just wrap that cold lemonade drink with different insulators, test the temperatures, use some different fasteners to keep them tight or even in layers. See what you can find. We are the environment and we are community. Right here I'm at the bridge near the parking lot of Blaine Wetland Sanctuary, and this bridge goes over the ditch. Now, ditches are a part of our watershed just like wetlands are. We all live in a watershed. We're all in community and environment working together for solutions.